He shared during our brief meeting that we are undergoing a restructuring aimed at enhancing shareholder value. Your role is being discontinued, effective immediately. I'm Martin Reddick. Over a span of 14 years, I developed the Eastern Division of Northrise Apparel, from the ground up transforming it into the leading unit within the company, eschewing extravagant presentations and corporate jargon. Through reliability, steadfastness, and genuine effort, I took a personal approach with our key accounts, understanding their concerns, their families, and their unique characteristics. I developed connections that generated $4.2 million in yearly contracts. Brandon, our new CEO, has been with us for precisely 8 weeks. Harvard Business School, a sharp-buzzed haircut tailored suits. He had never inquired about our client relationships. It's interesting that no one inquired about our impressive 18% year-over-year growth, while other divisions remained stagnant. I've often reflected on the reasons why Suncoast Financial and Vector Properties, our 2 largest accounts, have specifically sought my participation in quarterly calls. As security escorted me to my office to gather my belongings, I observed that Melissa from HR was unable to meet my gaze. She had been there for 15 years, which was longer than my own tenure. Thomas, the CFO, strolled by, but then retraced his steps. Clayton. He began, but then held back. He gave my shoulder an awkward pat before moving on down the hall. I packed with a sense of calm deliberation. Captivating snapshots of family moments. The fishing trophy presented to me by the Vector Properties team following our company retreat. The personal note from Claire at Suncoast, expressing her gratitude for my prompt assistance with their order during a challenging time for her boss. 14 years condensed into one simple cardboard box. I acknowledged security with a nod, proceeding to my car calmly and without any fuss. As I drove away, the glass tower gradually diminished in size, fading from view in my rearview mirror. After 14 years, I finally experienced a sense of relief, free from the burden of managing 30 employees and overseeing millions in contracts. That ought to have been a freeing experience. Rather, it seemed off. I began my journey with Northrise during their early days, when they were still based in a warehouse in Charlotte. At that time, our focus was on securing corporate uniform contracts with regional banks and healthcare organizations. The Eastern Division was facing significant financial losses when I was brought on board. I was tasked with the challenge of turning around a struggling operation with a team of 9 employees, knowing that failure meant closure. During those initial 3 years, I took it upon myself to visit every potential client within a 100-mile radius. I gained a deeper understanding of the challenges they face with their current suppliers, including issues like late deliveries, inadequate quality control, and inconsistent sizing. I addressed all of those issues. My team expanded from 15 to 25 individuals. We have transitioned to a more advantageous office space. I elevated Karen from her role in customer service to account management after witnessing her exceptional ability to manage challenging clients. I brought Brian on board right after he graduated from design school, captivated by his mock-ups that addressed issues we weren't even aware of. Nathan was just 12 years old when I began my journey at Northrise. At 26, he's making his mark as an architect in Seattle. My wife, Rachel, has been my unwavering support through every late night, every weekend emergency, and every time I needed to fly out to save an account. It's about creating something enduring, I would say to her. She had faith in my words. Throughout my time, I witnessed the arrival and departure of 3 different CEOs. Each appreciated the significance of what we had created. The organization transformed from a local entity into a formidable national contender. My division has consistently been at the forefront of growth and retention. The merger that took place last year brought about significant changes. Kestrel Group acquired us and appointed their own board members. At first, I felt no concern. In the realm of business, figures often tell a compelling story, yet signs of underlying issues began to emerge. Trevor Kerr came equipped with his team of efficiency specialists and a plethora of spreadsheets. They lacked comprehension of the connections that unified everything. During discussions, the focus was on the expenses associated with acquiring clients. Yet there was a noticeable absence of dialogue regarding the importance of nurturing client relationships. Just a fortnight prior to my dismissal, Trevor requested a comprehensive report on all significant accounts. I gathered all the information. Valuable insights into contract values, renewal dates, and potential growth opportunities. What I omitted, as it can't be measured on a spreadsheet, was my attendance at the funeral of the father of Suncoast's procurement director. My personal experience of inspecting Vector's first major order at 2 a.m. was quite revealing. To guarantee that every detail was flawless for their organization-wide launch. As soon as Brandon's assistant arranged our meeting for a mere 10 minutes, I sensed something was amiss. I had witnessed it occur previously with others. I honestly never anticipated that this would occur in my life. The day following my departure, I found myself in my home office fixated on my phone. There have been no communications from the workplace. Previous employment. Rachel offered me a warm cup of coffee and gently squeezed my shoulder. "What thoughts are on your mind?" she inquired. "They seem unaware of the consequences of their actions," I remarked. I felt no anger. That was the aspect that caught me off guard the most. I experienced an unusual sense of clarity that I hadn't felt in years. I powered on my personal laptop and glanced through my contacts. It's not the company database that I'm referring to, but rather my personal records. Identifiers, figures, private email addresses. 14 years of authentic relationships. The initial call arrived at 9:30 a.m. Claire, representing Suncoast Financial. "Clayton, we recently received a comprehensive email regarding the organizational changes at Northrise. I hope you're not impacted by this." I inhaled deeply. I was released from my position yesterday. The quiet conveyed a deep message. "Who will be assuming responsibility for the accounts?" she inquired at last. There was no information provided. I believe this is one of the new members of Brandon's team. Yet another moment of reflection. Our contract renewal is approaching in 6 weeks. I understand. Clayton, I must speak candidly. The board's decision to continue with Northrise last time was solely due to your influence. The costs may have exceeded those of rivals, yet you consistently provided exceptional results. Consistently addressed issues before they escalated. I took my time to respond. In the background, I could hear the rhythmic tapping of her pen against the desk. A practice she employed when faced with challenging choices. She finally expressed her need to have a conversation with her team. "May I return your call at this number?" "Absolutely." Once I finished the call, I made my way downstairs and took a seat at our kitchen table. Rachel was thoughtfully preparing lunch. "Are you all right?" she inquired. I acknowledged with a nod. I believe that I will be. I received a message from Keith, my design lead at Northrise, as my phone vibrated with a buzz. Trevor convened an urgent meeting, inquired about the contact information for your clients regarding your accounts. There seems to be a lack of clear communication from those around him. "What is going on?" I placed the phone aside without responding. Later that afternoon, I received a call from Glenn at Vector Properties. Next, we have Andrew representing Eastern Bank. Next, we have Megan representing Bright Healthcare Systems. The discussions consistently adhered to a familiar structure. Surprise at my exit. Worries regarding what lies ahead. Inquiries regarding their agreements. I maintained transparency with every one of them. I did not speak negatively about Northrise or Brandon. I provided responses to their inquiries. Indeed, I was let go from my position. I was not informed about the transition plan. Indeed, I have been reflecting on the possibilities that lie ahead. By the time evening arrived, I found myself with 5 missed calls from Trevor Kerr. I chose not to return them. That evening, I sat down with my laptop and began crafting a spreadsheet of my own design. Not of clients or contracts, but of opportunities. Organizations that have sought to bring me on board throughout the years. Rivals who could appreciate the depth of my experience and the network I've built. Considering the possibility of launching my own consulting firm. For 14 years, I dedicated myself to constructing connections for Northrise Apparel. At this point, I faced a choice: should I destroy them or create new ones for myself? I opted for the latter option. Just 3 days following my termination, Trevor transitioned from sending texts to making calls. I allowed their calls to go to voicemail. On the 4th day, I ultimately decided to respond. "Clayton, it's time for a discussion." He spoke, his tone more strained than during our previous encounter. "Several key accounts have raised some concerns. I have full confidence that your team is more than capable of managing it." I responded, "That's precisely the point. Suncoast is considering the possibility of terminating their contract. It appears that their collaboration with us was largely influenced by your involvement." I observed a cardinal gracefully alight on the feeder just beyond my window. Ultimately, that choice lies with them. It seems we might have rushed into these restructuring changes. The board is expressing apprehension regarding the possible effects on revenue. We can explore the possibility of a consulting arrangement to assist with the transition. For a brief moment, I pondered the idea. A consulting opportunity could provide a straightforward source of income as I contemplated my next steps. However, there was an unsettling quality to his abrupt shift in perspective. "Thank you for the offer. However, I would like to take some time to consider it." "I will take some time to consider it." That afternoon, I had the pleasure of meeting Jerry Campbell for a coffee chat. He had previously served as the CFO of Northrise prior to the merger and had also faced dismissal. He maintained connections with colleagues at corporate. "Trevor is completely overwhelmed," Jerry remarked as he stirred his coffee. "It seems that both Suncoast and Vector have issued formal letters stating their decision not to renew their contracts was a reason provided for that departure of essential relationship team members. Uncertainty in leadership. Essentially, it conveys that our trust was solely placed in Clayton." I acknowledged experiencing an unusual blend of affirmation and worry for my previous team. Jerry elaborated further. "Trevor informed the board that you are undermining the company by contacting clients and encouraging them to depart." I placed my cup on the table. "I have not instructed anyone to take any action. I have engaged in their conversations and responded with sincerity. Trevor has a different perspective on the matter. He is constructing an argument that you have breached your termination agreement and may attempt to recover your severance pay." As I was driving home, Trevor reached out once more. This time I chose to let it go to voicemail. Upon reflection, I noticed a significant shift in his tone. "Clayton, it seems there may have been a miscommunication. Your contributions and achievements here are truly appreciated. The board has granted me the authority to extend to you a senior VP position, which comes with an improved title and a more attractive package than what you had previously. Please return my call at your earliest convenience. It would be beneficial for us to engage in a discussion." That evening, Charles Thompson made a phone call. He served as the CEO of Summit Ridge Outfitters, a smaller competitor that made 2 attempts to recruit me throughout the years. He mentioned that he had heard about the events at Northrise. Their oversight. "I still stand by my offer, but I'd like to enhance it further. As a senior VP, you will have an equity stake and full authority over your client relationships." I informed him that I required a few days to reflect on all my possibilities. That evening, I received a message from the legal team at North Rise asserting that I had breached non-solicitation agreements. The tone conveyed a sense of intimidation, suggesting legal action if I continued to disrupt company connections. I shared it with a lawyer friend, letting the contents speak for itself. The following morning, clarity arrived. Early this morning, I received a call from my lawyer friend, David Henderson. He described this legal threat as lacking substance. They are attempting to instill fear in you. However, I took the time to review your contract. You did not enter into a non-solicitation agreement. The typical non-compete agreement restricts you from working with a competitor for a duration of 6 months. Clients will continue to follow you regardless. I recall signing that contract 14 years ago during a time that feels worlds apart from the company we know today. The former CEO was candid in his approach. This measure is designed to ensure that you cannot complete our training and then promptly join a competing organization. There's no mention of client relationships, so I haven't violated any legal obligations, right? There is nothing to report. Indeed, should they choose to go down this path, we may have grounds for a wrongful termination claim. The suddenness of the situation, coupled with the absence of a transition plan for a senior leader, raises important considerations. Judicial perspectives tend to be quite critical of such matters. I expressed my gratitude and ended the call right as an email from Karen at North Rise came through. Subject line: "This is important information you need to be aware of." She had included an internal presentation from a fortnight prior to my termination. Trevor had devised a comprehensive plan for restructuring. The strategy involved removing my role irrespective of my performance, substituting seasoned employees with less expensive recent graduates, and increasing prices for long-term clients by 15% upon contract renewal. A note on slide 12 indicated that a business model reliant on relationships carries considerable risk. It is essential to shift towards a model that relies on system dependencies in order to optimize profit margins. They hadn't let me go due to any shortcomings on my part. They let me go because my success didn't align with their predetermined metrics. Even more unsettling was a compilation of goals for team reductions. Once I departed, Keith, Karen, and 3 others from my division were slated for termination. I took the printed document and settled down at my kitchen table to reflect on it. Rachel glanced at what I was reading. She spoke softly, revealing their intentions to tear down all that you had created. "Feel free to attribute any consequences to me," I added. My phone vibrated with a notification. Here is another piece from Brandon. "There is a board meeting scheduled for tomorrow. It is crucial that we address the topic of reconciliation at the earliest opportunity. Kindly make a call." I placed the phone aside and revisited the presentation once more. The final slide presented the anticipated revenue following all adjustments. Margins could potentially increase by 22%, provided that all clients remain loyal in the face of price hikes and service cutbacks. It was a fragile structure teetering on the brink of collapse. I reached out to Charles at Summit Ridgeback. "I expressed my interest in your offer, but with one condition. I would like to assemble my core team, a total of 5 individuals." Without a moment's pause, he replied affirmatively. "When is the ideal time to begin?" "In 2 weeks, I will require the official offer letters for everyone today." That evening, I reached out to Keith, followed by Karen, and then the rest of the group. I provided a comprehensive explanation. The conclusion, the reorganization strategy, their identities on the reduction roster. I shared the details of Summit Ridge's offer with them. All 5 responded affirmatively, without hesitation. I experienced a more restful night than I had since the conclusion. I chose not to respond to Brandon's calls or emails. I arranged meetings with our key clients, not with the intention of taking advantage of them, but rather to connect as a friend. I had the pleasure of meeting Claire from Suncoast for lunch, close to her office. She stated that they would not be renewing with Northrise even before placing an order. The inquiry at hand is about our next steps. At this moment, I'm unable to pursue your business, I clarified. I must exercise caution in accordance with legal requirements. Her smile radiated warmth. I see your point. However, in a hypothetical scenario where you were employed at a place providing comparable services, we would certainly be keen on keeping track of your progress. By the end of the week, I had engaged in comparable discussions with each of the 5 major clients. No one had heard from Trevor or anyone else at Northrise trying to mend the relationships. In the meantime, Summit Ridge has issued formal offer letters to my team. One by one, they handed in their resignations at Northrise. On the subsequent Monday, Trevor arrived at my house without any prior notice. As I toiled away in the garage on my vintage Chevy, I noticed him arriving in the driveway, gliding in with his sleek Mercedes. "We need to have a conversation, Clayton," he said, his face reflecting a palpable sense of anxiety. "This situation has escalated beyond acceptable limits. The board is closely monitoring my every move. Significant departures among key team members and clients expressing intentions to withdraw. That seems quite demanding." I responded, cleaning my hands with a cloth. "Regrettably, I have decided to pursue an opportunity with another organization." His face turned a deep shade of red. "Are you moving to a rival company? Your actions are in conflict with the terms of your non-compete agreement. Summit Ridge is not included in the restricted list outlined in my contract. David Henderson provided confirmation on this matter yesterday. So you're engaging with legal professionals. Now, Clayton, let's approach this with some logic. No matter what they present, we will surpass it." I gently lowered the hood of my truck, ensuring it was securely in place. "It's never been about the money, Brandon. So what is it that you desire? Identify it." For the first time, I met his gaze directly. I sought acknowledgement for 14 years of dedicated effort in creating something meaningful. I was hoping for a meaningful dialogue, not a brief dismissal. I aimed to safeguard my team, not to have them singled out for removal to enhance some financial report. His expression shifted as he became aware that I was informed about the restructuring plan. That was merely a preliminary version, an exercise in scenario planning. "Farewell, Brandon." I strolled by him on my way home. "The board will contest this," he shouted as I walked away. "We will take legal action against you, Summit Ridge, and all parties involved." I glanced back one final time. "Feel free to give it a shot. Before making a decision, consider what would be more costly for shareholders, allowing me to exit quietly or engaging in a public legal dispute that reveals why all your key clients and top talent departed at the same time." He was at a loss for words. A week later, I began my journey at Summit Ridge. 2 weeks later, my non-compete period came to a close. In just a month, 4 out of our 5 key clients from Northrise chose to sign new contracts with Summit Ridge, specifically requesting my expertise as their account manager. I have not reached out to anyone else at Northrise. I have always maintained a respectful stance regarding the company in public discussions. I was not required to. Half a year into my journey at Summit Ridge, I found myself analyzing quarterly figures in my new office when Charles unexpectedly knocked on my door. "You should take a look at this," he remarked, setting his tablet down in front of me. The piece provided a detailed examination of Northrise Apparel's financial landscape. The headline announced that CEO Trevor Kerr has resigned due to a financial shortfall. The piece elaborated on how Northrise fell short of its quarterly projections by 18%. The Eastern Division, which I once oversaw, experienced a staggering decline, with almost 40% of its business disappearing. The board has accepted Brandon's resignation, which takes effect immediately. I returned the tablet in silence. Charles observed that you appeared unfazed. "It's challenging to foster connections through spreadsheets," I responded. That afternoon, I received a LinkedIn message from Thomas, the CFO of Northrise. The board is convening tomorrow to deliberate on recovery strategies. Your name was mentioned. Would you be open to engaging in a discussion? I chose not to reply. I completed our quarterly presentation for Suncoast Financial. The team successfully delivered the new corporate uniforms a full 2 weeks ahead of schedule. The responses were remarkably favorable. Claire had previously connected us with 2 additional prospective clients within their network. The following day, Jerry Campbell made a call. I thought you might find this information valuable. Kestrel Group is in the process of divesting Northrise. The stock has declined by 22% since your departure. Who is making purchases? That is the crux of the matter. No responses so far. It seems there are efforts underway to connect with you through unofficial means. The board believes you are the key to restoring stability in the client relationships. I expressed my gratitude to Jerry for the information and returned to my tasks. Subsequently, I treated my team to lunch to commemorate our impressive achievement of 2 consecutive quarters of growth. Brian presented a series of sketches for an innovative product line. Karen provided a thoughtful overview of the client feedback received. We explored the expansion plans of Summit Ridge in depth. Northrise was not brought up by anyone. That evening, I received a direct email from Eleanor Barnes, the chair of Northrise's board. Clayton, the circumstances have reached a critical point. We committed a significant miscalculation in our decision-making. Have you thought about the possibility of coming back as CEO, full independent, substantial ownership interest position on the board? Please specify your conditions. I shut my laptop without sending a response. The following morning, I convened a meeting with my team at Summit Ridge. I was approached about the possibility of returning to Northrise, and I responded candidly. I wanted to share this with you directly. I have decided to decline the offer. Brian acknowledged with a nod. I anticipated they would make an attempt sooner or later. Karen beamed with a warm smile. Insufficient action, taken at a delayed moment. Precisely, I remarked. We are creating an improved experience here. Later that afternoon, I composed a concise email to Eleanor. Thank you for the offer, but I will have to pass. I am dedicated to my present role. I extend my best wishes to Northrise as they move ahead. Just 3 days later, the news emerged. Summit Ridge Outfitters has successfully completed a strategic asset purchase of Northrise Apparel's Eastern Division. The press release emphasized the significance of reuniting essential talent with their well-established client relationships. Charles skillfully orchestrated the deal in silence, acquiring what was once Northrise's prized asset for a mere fraction of its former value. The board found themselves with no alternative. It was a choice between selling to us or witnessing its complete downfall. I never needed to respond in a direct manner. The market provided the clarity I needed. A year after my departure from Northrise, I found myself driving past their old Eastern Division office. The Summit Ridge logo now occupied the space where the Northrise sign had previously been displayed. The structure appeared unchanged, yet the interior had undergone a complete transformation. We brought back some of the team members who had been released during Brandon's short time with us. We successfully revitalized 3 additional client relationships that had declined following my exit. The division is now producing greater revenue under Summit Ridge than it ever did under Northrise. I positioned myself across the street, observing as employees departed for the day. A blend of familiar faces intertwined with newcomers. They appeared joyful, involved, and driven. Upon arriving home, I found Rachel in the kitchen, preparing dinner. Today I mentioned that I drove by the old office. She examined my expression closely. Reflecting on the past or seeking resolution, I believe closure is what I responded with. Can you believe it's been a whole year already? She acknowledged with a nod. I recalled. That's why I prepared your favorite dish for dinner tonight. During dinner, Nathan reached out from Seattle to discuss an exciting development regarding a significant project his architecture firm had secured. How is the new job treating you, Dad? He inquired. Excellent. Creating something enduring, I responded, echoing the same sentiment I had expressed for 14 years at Northrise. However, on this occasion, I was certain it was genuine. Later that evening, I got a message from Jerry Campbell. The remaining divisions of Northrise have recently been acquired by Gravora Group. Thoroughly accomplished, the original company has completely transformed beyond recognition. I placed my phone aside and stepped out onto the deck. The gentle warmth of spring enveloped the air, brimming with potential and promise. I found myself reflecting on Brandon, pondering for a moment what he might be up to at this time. I wished he had gained some understanding, yet I was skeptical about it. I reflected on the many years spent constructing connections for a company that failed to appreciate their worth. The long hours, skipped family meals, delayed getaways. The sacrifices were significant, yet the connections I forged were equally genuine. Ultimately, those connections remained with me, not due to any request on my part, but because we had created something genuine together. Such value transcends what any spreadsheet can convey. No amount of restructuring could eliminate it. The following morning, I made my way to Summit Ridge bright and early. I have analyzed our quarterly projections, which are currently 30% above the target. I reviewed the figures regarding our client retention, 97%, marking an unprecedented achievement for the company. Charles made a visit to my office. The board has given their approval to your proposal, he mentioned. An employee ownership program is set to launch in the upcoming quarter. Brian and Karen are set to lead the implementation team. I acknowledged with a nod. They will execute it perfectly. You know, Charles said, leaning against the doorframe. At the outset, I believed we were merely acquiring a skilled executive, along with some valuable client connections. I was unaware that we were adopting an entirely new approach to conducting business. I emphasized the importance of prioritizing connections rather than mere exchanges. Without fail, once he departed, I opened my desk drawer and took out the fishing trophy that Vector Properties had awarded me many years ago. I positioned it on my shelf alongside fresh photographs of my team at Summit Ridge. I found no desire for retribution. I was not seeking validation. I aimed to create something enduring. This occasion presented me with the opportunity.